New video. We find ourselves in the tea section, and we have Thought Eater. Now, this is yet another one of those tiny little critters like the brain mold or the cerebral parasite that inhibits psionicysts. And in the player's handbook of yore, psionics could actually be very powerful. And you couldn't just be a psionicist. You had to have really good stats, and you had to roll a percentile. And if you got like a 97 through 100, it's like a very low percentage chance, you could have psionics, and you would roll for your powers and stuff like that. We've got a saber-toothed tiger, regular tiger, giant tick, titan, titanothere, again, with the penchant for prehistoric creatures. And here it is, the trapper. That's the monster I was trying to remember earlier, is that now they've taken the trapper and the lurker above. Let's just grab the picture for that. Here we go. Lurker above. And the piercer, and they made them all into sort of the same kind of creature. And yeah, just really super cool stuff. Giant toads. The only time in classic modules that I know that a giant, well, there's actually a couple. One of them is in a module that I don't think that I have. Dwellers of the Forbidden City. And also, against the giants, has ice toads that attack the party. So that's pretty cool. And treant, and of course a treant comes as part of, what is it? The, oh my god, Lord of the Rings. So they obviously they come across the tree ants, and there's probably a whole history there that I don't understand and can't explain. But here they gave them different types of hit dice. So, you know, small, medium, and large treants. And now, if you look in the modern monster manual, there's a big guy that appears prominently in the T section. And that is Yol Tarask. And as more and more monster manuals or the same type of thing comes out, less and less monsters actually get into the consciousness of the fantasy role-playing community. And one of them is the Tarask, who appears in Monster Manual 2. And guy, everybody just like, because he was the big bad. He was the big, huge thing that you could encounter. 50 feet long, which at the time was like absolutely huge. Of course, you scaled that out. It'd be very hard to make an actual miniature out of it. And all right, so guy, let's keep going. In fact, let's just flip through this real quick. There's your treant. Of course, no different sizes. Animate trees once a day, but otherwise just basically another unimaginative beat stick. Oh, I want to talk about the Thri-kreen, which doesn't appear in the original Monster Manual, but does appear in Monster Manual 2. And this creature actually came out of Dark Sun. And again, it really captured the imagination. And there you go. Here's your old art for Thri-kreen. Unfortunately, I don't have any of the Dark Sun stuff to show you, where that came from. Dark Sun was a campaign setting, very exciting, and here it says Mantis Warrior. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, this is one of the few monsters where Wizards of the Coast, or the owners of the IP for Dungeons & Dragons, have kept the IP. You can't make this monster. There's gonna be a fight if you want to make this creature. So, but of course, how much can you really own? You obviously can't own the concept of an anthropomorphic insect, but that's where that comes from. So let's just whip through the modern monster. You have troglodyte, troll. We're going to see those in a second. And let's just keep going. Hey, there you go. Look at that. Troglodyte, troll. Tritons have kind of gone the way of the dodo. Nobody really uses them or thinks about them. Umberhulk is the only U entry in the Monster Manual. Oh, excuse me. Umberhulk and Unicorn. My apologies. Obviously, a very huge piece of art. Now, I actually think unicorns have been done extremely well in this edition and in 5th edition, because you've got this ability to, let's see, hold on. Teleportation, and a limited teleportation, which they call a dimension door. So anyway, super cool, and I love unicorns. Unicorns are great. I reskin them as like these white lions, and Umberhulks obviously have really captured the imagination. Here's the old art of Umberhulk. In fact, I think that's the first time that we saw an Umberhulk. And of course, the confusion is he has a pair of eyes that make sense out here and another pair of interior eyes. And that was always kind of like, you know, where they got their confusion effect. Which, if you use the Umberhulk's 4 eyes squarely, must save versus magic or be confused for 3 to 12 melee rounds. And they have their own language. That's pretty cool. So, and of course, the art, whoa, why did I close that? The art here is just absolutely ridiculously outstanding. You know what, I think I can just finish off the whole monster manual. Hopefully I've given you some insights and some interesting history things, or at least a 6-hour video for you to go to sleep. And we've got, moved me saying a lot because I have not developed my language skills. I have tried, though, did make an effort. So you have trolls. And of course, trolls appear everywhere and are very interesting creatures. And so basically, I think the creatures that capture people's imagination are ones that both hit a primal chord inside of a human of a terror or fairy tales. And they also, in terms of the game, they have something interesting about themselves, something that makes them tactically textured. So giant turtles. Oh, but yeah, so I already did those. Vampire. Now, I'm not a fan of the vampire. I don't think they're that great. You know, unless they have their own setting, like Ravenloft. And, of course, because they have, I guess, what you might call a feel to them. And so I think if you're going to go all the way with that, like they did in Ravenloft. By the way, I'm trailing off because I'm actually literally looking for Ravenloft. It's the I series, so you've got Pharaoh. Here you go, good old Ravenloft. Now, I was a teenager when this came out. I bought this. I ran my high school group through it. We were probably 16 years old at the time. I was probably using my own system. I have actually a rule book from 1983, I think it is, and I wrote my own game system called Quest, printed it out, got a little bit of distribution. All my friends got copies of it. And in the preface to that, it said, I don't think Dungeons & Dragons is very good, and so I'm making my own thing. And of course, I had tried different systems, been exposed to different things. So I did have, even at that time, even at age 13 or 14, I had some context to it. So anyway, Ravenloft is incredible. Of course, it centers around a vampire. And this is the original one, by the way. It had this, what's that called? Icosahedric map or something like that. And yeah, 1983 this came out. So super cool. I remember them going around in the crypts and like there's just a ton of things to open. And that's kind of a fun house mechanic that existed a lot. Now look at that. Mostly writing. Like art was rare at the time. Like it was an expense to get a whole piece of art like that. So not every other page even had a piece of art. Look at that. No art. Oh, here's an incredible piece of art. Oh, look, no art. So as time goes on, of course, you have more and more. Of course, with the 1977 rule book, Monster Manual, you had a lot of art on every page, and some of it very imaginative and done really well by just this group of young teenage and 20-something artists. So anyway, you've got a vampire, you've got, for the W's, giant wasp. Of course, we're coming up on zombie, which is a famous one. Water Weird, I think that was a Dungeons & Dragons type creature, and that's survived, I think, every edition. And weasel, whale, more mundane animals, a wight, which is an undead, and I think where you're still going to find it in 5th. Will-o'-the-Wisp, by the way, Will-o'-the-Wisp is amazing. I love these creatures in every edition. In Pathfinder, oh my gosh, they're so good. They're so challenging. And if you play them right, a will-o'-the-wisp can really be a dastardly foe. Because even though they don't have a ranged attack, they can fly and go invisible, and they can speak common. And now I don't know about D&D, but in Pathfinder, a will-o'-the-wisp can regenerate from killing a living being. It doesn't specify what. So I had a will-o'-the-wisp terrorizing a village, and basically it would float into a villager's hut, and it would take the form of a skull, a glowing skull, and it would threaten them, and maybe even carry out the threat like on a household pet. And it would threaten them and say if they didn't do what it said, it would come back for them. And so this will-o'-wisp had all these agents in the village who were ready to betray the party, basically split them up so the will-o'-wisp could get them alone. And that was my take on the will-o'-wisp, because I mean, in how it's presented here, they appear out in a swamp and they try and lure you away. Well, no adventurer is going to do that because they've already read this book. They already know what a will-o'-wisp is. So if they don't know that, then you know you can basically get them alone in a different way. Have these villagers, and so like because the intelligence says exceptional. And it's chaotic evil, and just, it's so good. It's absolutely so good. And while any weapon will harm a will-o'-wisp, most spells do not affect it. So anyway, really cool. Windwalker has gone away. Wolf, Wolverine, more mundane animals, even the giant ones. Now we've got to, we've got to Wraith. Of course, we all know what a wraith is. Nothing really to see there. A wyvern, such a cool creature, and it's cool because it looks cool, and it's great for low. It's great as sort of a very difficult encounter. Probably not a boss encounter for lower level creatures. And I love them because of their flying ability. Unfortunately, they don't have ranged abilities like a manticore, but they can be very, very challenging. They're way out in the boonies. And I've always just envisioned them as sort of these low-level dragon types, which of course they're not exactly, but you get the idea. Like, they're the top predator around there. A Zorn. Now, these appear in lots of different modules. Blah, 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 blah. I think it was the... well, now I can't find it. Guys, it's the Lost City one that I was showing you guys earlier. And also in Lost Caverns of Sockant, there's a Zorn that just appears, and you know, and they're cool because they're not just a smash and grab. Like they actually will talk to you and try and get some gems off of you, which I think is kind of cool. It's you know, their timing can be really good. Yeah, I'm mistaken. It's not in the Lost City. There's somewhere one of these modules has a really cool art of a Zorn talking to a party. Anyway, Yeti is just a beat stick, and even more limited because of the climate. And then for Z, obviously you have zombie. And there you go, treasure type. This is a classic thing, which I think they've repeated on various covers. Pathfinder's treasure thing, I think, had something similar to this. But these three adventurers opening the treasure chest, and they're just, greed is filling their eyes. And of course, behind it, there's skeletons, which sort of hints at the danger that's still lurking nearby. So anyway, there you go, guys. That is the Monster Manual, Lake Geneva, and just so cool. A little ad for Gen Con, which I think was going since 1969, something like that. It's funny. It says you should make your inquiry between March 1st and August 1st by writing to, but it doesn't tell you the year for it. So, because I noticed in a lot of my stuff, I never said the year, because obviously you remember the year. A year is important when you're young, and it's not, that's not necessarily the case. So look at these, and it also says here's Dungeons and Dragons game family. So Dungeons and Dragons complete basic game set, which of course you wouldn't need very soon after this because you would have the DM guide and the player handbook. Introductory modules. Each of these is specially designed to instruct both the beginning player and dungeon master how to construct and fill one's own dungeons and how to better play D&D for full enjoyment. Guy, this is really great. It reads like a cigarette ad. And here they are. Here's the whole list of modules that are out. Are you ready for this? B1, In Search of the Unknown. B2, Keep on the Borderlands. There you go. That's it. That was the list of modules that was available when this bad girl came out. 112 pages. And here I am. My monster manual that I'm creating for Elans is going to rock at least 600 pages. I'm only on the C's, and I think I have 35 pages so far. 10 pages per letter. Oh my God, yeah. 10 pages per letter, 260 pages. That doesn't even make sense. All right, yeah, because it's actually more than that. All right, anyway, so here you go. Collector's editions, Dungeons & Dragons, 3 booklets boxed. I think those are the white books they're talking about, which I showed you earlier. Supplements, Greyhawk, Blackmore. So Greyhawk was Gary Gygax. Blackmore was, I think, Dave Arneson, one of those other guys. Eldritch Wizardry, I don't know what that is. Gods, Demigods, and Heroes. I think, nope, that is not correct. I don't even know what that's about. Is it the white books? Is that still happening in this thing? Let's take a look. Rules for medieval games, miniatures. No, oh, here it is. Yeah, it's these books. Blackmore, Supplement 2 by Dave Arneson. Gods, Demigods, and Heroes by Kuntz and Ward. So there you go. So these were still 2006 is the product number, not the year, obviously. What year does this say? 7th printing in 1970. Oh, copyright in 1976. Yeah. So these would have come out the year before the original first edition Monster Manual. So they didn't come in this. If you see me putting them in here, I just store them in there because I'm lazy that way. Okay. Well, guys, it's been really exciting. Let's just flick through the last pages of this here. I think we're going to see the exact same monsters, really no difference. There's Water Weird, much better art. Vampire Spawn was a nice thing for them to add to vampires. Now, I'm not keen on vampires. I don't like to include them in my games. They're too, I don't know, close to a certain mythology. And, of course, nowadays, vampires, because of Anne Rice and whoever wrote, the Twilight series, vampires have just been done to death, guys. We're done with vampires. We got to get rid of them. We got to stop using them. In a recent campaign of mine, I said, hypocritically, I did resurrect them for this Cthulhu-esque swords and sorcery thing. I made them Hyperborean vampires, where only women could be vampires, and they had different immunities, so my players had to sort of figure out what was going on. Like gold would stake them, and they would be vulnerable to it. And but the problem is gold is very soft, so you have to like make these alloys and stuff like that, and have these specialty weapons to deal with them. And they were very, very, very tough, and everybody loves a lady vampire. So anyway, yeah, white, Will-O-Wisp, which I absolutely love, and yeah, so as a bonus action, the Will-O-Wisp can target one creature you can see within 5 feet that has 0 hit points and is still alive. Well, I think that could be wildlife. So they just, if they're not doing well, they just zip away, they heal themselves up, and then they can come back. A 50-foot hover speed, dark vision, just really, really good. Good immunities, good resistances, and they can go invisibility. Yep, so they're cool. Wraith, White, the exact lineup. Zorn, Yeti, 2 pages for Yetis sometimes. Oh, Yuan Ti, yes. Let's talk, oh no, we're at time. Well, they came out in an early module. It was called, I'm trying to find it, I-1, Dwellers of the Forbidden City, and that's where you got your Yuan Ti. Here we go. Let's see if I can find them. Look at that. Oh, that art's so cool. Oh my gosh. Hold on, where are we? Aboleth, Panlong. Here you go. Yuan-Ti is the original thing that place that they appeared. So Dwellers of the Forbidden City. This is one of those important modules that introduce all these classic monsters. So they're really cool. There's a whole book for a 3rd edition that came out for them. Yeah, the Yugoloths, and there we are into the animals. All right, thanks for tuning in. This has been your History of the Monster Manual. It's so exciting. I'm just really, it was a lot of fun to present this. And by the way, if I had studied, or if someone more expert than me had been here, you could have got like 20 hours of footage on this, going back and looking at all these monsters, figuring out which ones came from mythological sources that have been around for hundreds of years, if not thousands of years. And then, of course, how those progressed with their powers to the various 5 editions of Dungeons & Dragons. We could have talked about how they evolved in Pathfinder. And then, of course, copyrights to original things, which off the top of my head is like Displacer Beast, Beholder, Mind Flayer, Thri-Kreen. I mean, it's just like this weird group of creatures that they have decided to say that they own. So there you go, Zers. Thanks for tuning in.